Okay, so I realize my old any percent tutorial is pretty far out of date, so I figured that'd be a good time to make a new one. So in this tutorial, I'm not going to be doing intro skip. I'm going to be saving that for its own video because it's pretty complicated. And I don't think I'd be able to properly explain it just by running through it. So, first thing about running this game, there's a weird... When you load up the game for the first time, you go to new game, you start a new game, you'll notice there's a lot of lag between this first loading screen and the first cutscene. You see how long it took me to get through that? So generally, what you'll actually want to do is load up a game one time and then start. Now see how quick I can skip through this cutscene. Instantly. So I'm going to be doing this without intro skip. You'll need to get quite a few opals right off the bat. Maybe I'll get intro skip. Look at that. That was random. I'll try not to, actually. You need to get a lot of opals. I got a good combo, 15. Hit those first 2 frills, then hit those 2 in the tree. Then kill these 5 here at the thermal bunyip. And what that's going to do is, when you kill those 5 at the thermal bunyip, what will happen is it'll start a little timer, and then the fire will eventually go away. So that's why you want to get rid of it as quickly as possible. So I got 15,097 opals. You want at least 14,000. If you don't get 14,000, you probably reset, because it's extremely unlikely you'll get enough. So if you don't get intro skip, which is where Sly and Shazza both continue moving here, you want to slowly move your way around here, because it's possible to do a little hard lock where the bridge does not load in properly. So kill those enemies. Target that one, please. When you're attacking these netties here, the way they spawn in is it'll spawn in 2 right off the bat, and the third one won't spawn in until you kill one of them. It doesn't matter which one, but you kill one of them and the other one will start falling. So you want to kill one of them as quickly as possible in order to save the most time there. So now, when you're moving through here, you can do this little hop. To get to that cutscene, I quickly skipped through it. Get to the battle bunyip. And now we can just progress like normal here. Here, in order to get more opals, continuously jump. And you'll notice that when you continuously jump, it sort of resets the frill's position. They sort of like act surprised, and they end up not moving at all. That's good, because here, the giant demon fluffy enemy is going to kill all of them in one shot. And you get this massive combo. But that only happens if you're constantly jumping through that area, and so that the frills stay in their spot. They don't move at all. So here, that you want to get this quick kill here. Kill that as soon as possible, or else you'll end up on a bad cycle. So I got the quick kill. Ooh, I'm bad. Quick kill there. So immediately shoot that one. And then shoot that first one. I missed. That's bad. But if you hit, this one here will die immediately as well, and you'll get a very fast kill. If you want to get an example of that, watch my... Did I get it in my world record? I don't actually think I got it in my world record. It's pretty tricky. It's definitely the trickiest part about doing that. But that area, the turret fight, it takes a lot of practice. It's really fucking difficult. And also, you need to use mouse and keyboard, because your sensitivity with the controller just doesn't go high enough. You need this level of sensitivity for it. So you have to use your keyboard and mouse there in order to get those quick kills. So now just continue like normal. Now, very important note here. When you're going up sharp inclines like this, moving like this is actually slower than constantly jumping. And the reason for that is Ty has a fixed speed, and that speed goes in whatever line or the shape of the road is. So, I mean, just use your geometry that you learned in high school, and you'll realize that this is slower than just going horizontally. If you're constantly jumping, then your speed is constantly horizontal as opposed to sloped. Or not your speed, your direction. The speed, of course, stays the same. So you want to be constantly jumping when you're on sharp inclines like this. Okay, so I messed up a little trick. I might as well show you now. I didn't realize I wasn't going to get that if I stayed over there for too long, but when you're running through here, of course you're avoiding the purple balls. Go immediately to this wall here. If you go immediately to this wall, you'll be able to run up here in enough time to get in front of Fluffy, who will be standing right here punching the door. And then Fluffy will actually push you in, and it'll save you a little bit of time. It'll also make it to where you can hit Fluffy instantly after this cutscene. If you miss that, of course, you don't get pushed in, and then you have to run all the way up to Fluffy. Pretty slow. And I guess I should explain what I'm doing here, because it's not intuitive right off the bat. So, when you hit Fluffy, she starts blocking you. What? But you can actually avoid the blocking altogether just by jumping once. And the jumping will stop the blocking. Okay, so now, moving on, starting Chapter 1. Here, you're forced to press the back button to open up that menu, and then you just want to quickly menu through that. Grinding is basically always faster than running, so grind those two rails. So we'll do the first mission, and I don't actually have a split set up for the first mission because it's so short. Basically, there's this kid, he gets lost, you gotta find him. So, we'll need to go up into the upper area of Bermudgy Town, which is up there. In the original console, you'd have to go all the way around because there'd be a big-ass wall here. But on PC, you can actually use this house as a way to boost your way up there. Now, a safe way of doing this is to jump on the trash can and then up here. And then you can just jump up. If you want to be a little quicker, try and be somewhere around here. To, like, the highest point on this little hill. Jump and get an extended glide, and you can land right here. That's a little bit more tricky. Then from here, you just want to take the tightest lines you possibly can. Get a good voice line there. It's classic. And again, I'm sort of just constantly jumping because even if it's a flat surface, you know, it's best to get used to constantly jumping. So that when you're in sloped areas like that, you're already doing it. So go up, talk to Booney, and then head back. Now, I got plenty of opal, so I don't need to do my full opal route. I'll go ahead and show you what the full opal route looks like. I want to have at least, what's the number? 2,400. If I have 2,400 there, I'm safe. If I have less than 2,400, I need to do the full opal route, which will involve me going around here, grabbing that 25 opal bag, and then grabbing these two 10 opal bags. Which is about a second slower than just taking it straight on. So obviously we don't want to do that, but sometimes you have to.
Hey, Todd.
I also grab those two bags every single run, just because they're literally in my path. So we'll start up the sewer mission. Hit that croc once, take this corner. These ledges are unfortunately not biteable ledges, as you can see, so with that croc, it's safer to just go around like this, and it's really consistent to hit it, but if you want to be quick and save like half a second, you can hit him right as you're falling, and you'll get him right before he bites you. And I guess I should explain. Well, that was a bad. There's a certain timing you want to get when you're throwing rings with the Crocs, because what happens is they have this animation when you hit them where they get hit and then they go back down. In this current state, their hitbox is actually amazingly tiny. But if you hit them whenever he's up like that, whenever his belly's up, his hitbox is massive. So you want to time your rings like that. And the timing changes a little bit when you're far away. That Croc, I was right next to him. With this one, I'm going to be further away, so I need to make my timing a little bit longer to accommodate the boomerang having to return to me. Just slightly longer. Because if you spam too fast, if you spam your rings too fast, you're going to miss. See, I was a little bit too fast on my second throw. On that one. So you just take the tightest lines possible. Now for me, I like to always split after I complete a mission. So right there is where I would normally split. Some people split when they enter loading zones. Doesn't really matter where you split. It just will potentially make it harder for you to compare yourself to others. So when you're climbing up here, the quickest way to do this is to jump around instead of just walking up the steps. You can do that. Tricky platforming. It's not too bad. That's not a biteable ledge. I've never actually tried that one. I figured I should explain biteable ledges real quick. You can get a little bit of a boost in your momentum, though of course that's not biteable. Are these crates biteable? They're not. There's really not a whole lot in this game. They're more prevalent in Taiwan. That one's biteable. Okay. We don't jump on this though. So that's an example of a biteable ledge. You can bite as you go off the edge, and it'll shoot you forward a little bit, and you save like a quarter of a second. But if you're able to do that, like 20 times in one run, that's 5 seconds saved right there. So it adds up pretty fast. There's not a whole lot of opportunity for you to do that in Tai 2, unfortunately. Alright, so now we'll move on. Next is the Stupid Ninjas mission. This is somewhat RNG dependent. What matters most is how quickly you can kill the 20th ninja as it spawns in. So if the 20th ninja spawns really far away and turns invisible right off the bat, which will happen occasionally, you're going to lose like 1 or 2 seconds off of your summer best, and there's just nothing you can do about that. Besides that, there's really not a whole lot of variance. Cutscene that you'll have to skip right when you enter in. I like to keep count, so I'll count myself 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And another thing to keep in mind when you're doing this is your opal count. You want to see your opal count get up to 4,000 before the end of this fight. If it doesn't get up to 4,000, you'll have to do some emergency provisions to get yourself up to the proper opal count by the end of this chapter. And now, what can help you get higher opal counts during this fight is to get combos. Like that. I was able to kill 2 in quick succession. I got a ×2 combo. You're not going to get that many opportunities to do that, unfortunately. 16, 17, 18, and the 20th is here. So that would have been a fairly bad ninja fight. So, I have plenty of opals. I actually have 250 opals more than I normally need. But I'm going to go ahead and show you my emergency provision route. If you're minus 100 opals, if you're any more than minus 125 opals, you need a reset because you're not going to be able to get enough. If you're more than that, you will be able to get enough, but just barely. So the emergency provisions, number 1, kill this motorcycle, hit him once with a ring, and then run into him. Get these 3 boxes. Kill this motorcycle, hit him once, and then run into him. There's a biteable ledge for you. You can actually walk up this wall, jump, and then jump again, instead of having to go all the way around. These 3 boxes. And you just open them up and grab as many as you can as you walk through there. Don't try and waste too much time. And then that box. And now we're into explosive cargo. And you might be like, that wasn't 125 opals, and I'd say you're right. That was not 125 opals. But we'll get more later on before the patchy fight. So this mission, the first half is very boring. There is a definitive quickest path, and I am currently taking it, so write this down. The other paths aren't that bad, maybe within like half a second of each other. But of course, you know, you might as well take the fastest path. So the fastest path is to go left on this part. Grab this little container of oil, because you will run out. You will run out of fuel on this mission. This is the only helicopter mission in the game where you have to grab oil. The rest of them you'll be able to complete without the fear of running out. And then next you want to go right on this side. And this is the definitive fastest path. So, now, before I get into this next part, I should explain something. So, we're going to be doing this technique called boosting. And basically what happens is the TNT that we pick up is a solid physical object that cannot be moved in the environment. And the issue is all these other bits of scenery are the same way. So the issue that comes up is if you collide that with something, it's going to get pushed, and it'll add to your speed pretty intensely, as you'll see. So this section is really difficult. It takes a lot of practice to get consistent boosts, so hopefully I'll be able to show it off well. So the first boost is right off the bat on that hill. I kind of got it. And there's that one. Boost. You should be able to get 2 here off that pipe and onto that rod. Boost here. That one was weak. Boost there. Some people like to just ride on the pipe to get boosts. I find that to be a little bit more risky, but it's fine, it works. I messed up those last few boosts. And if you're lucky, you can also get one off of the ground right there. But yeah, that's that. So now we head back. Don't forget about your biteable ledge. Bingo. And so now the rest of our provisional opal route comes from these boxes here. You can get about 60 in that area if you collect all of them. Cool. And now here, there's a pretty tricky turn. You want to just, what's the word? Drift into it. I'm going to show that off one more time. Drift into it until your direction is about, let's see, somewhere around here. If you're going too close to this edge, then there's an invisible wall that you'll hit, like that. And that will totally fuck you up. You don't want to do that. So, there's a little Goldilocks zone you want to hit. Like that. Alright, patchy fight. This sucks. This is super RNG heavy. Hit him right off the bat. Make sure you're targeting him. Hit him a second time. He'll be sitting here. Hit him a third time. Oh, no, I missed. But it's okay, because you can hit him like that, and he'll immediately charge you. And then hit him that 5th time. That's the first phase. Second phase, you want to get him to avoid jumping around like that as much as possible, and then also hitting his very first tail cycle. Don't hit his tail, by the way. That was bad of me. I'm at 1 health, which means I might die going into the 3rd phase, because sometimes you'll just get hit going into the 3rd phase out of your control. We'll see if that happens. It didn't. Good. I didn't die. So with this 3rd phase, that sucked. You can... Okay, so I didn't time that very good. Let's see if I can get one time. Nope. Before he does his jump animation, you can actually hit his back right before his jump animation. It's pretty tricky to do, but that actually saves a lot of time. It's pretty random, so don't count on it. So now we start up Chapter 2. We need at least 5,000 opals going into this. And we need 5,000 opals going into this because we need to buy something.
Bye-bye.
I did that really fast. That's what the menuing should look like. I realized I should probably slow that down so you can see what I did. Down, and then buy thermal bunyip, left to confirm and hit yes, and then B to get out. So thermal bunyip is the second item that you can purchase there. So you have to move down once.
Hello there, Ty.
Another biteable ledge. Dennis. Hit that button as you jump. You have to do this all pretty quickly or else you'll miss that cycle there to actually get on the platform. And then you can jump off here with an extended glide and you can make it. And you cut out that and going all the way around. It saves about 5 seconds. And it's really not that hard either. It just takes a little bit of practice. So now, as for driving in these areas, these motorcycle frills, they can actually run into you and push you forward. Let's see if that ends up happening. Oh, got blocked. Okay, there we go. It's very slight, and it really only saves, honestly, like, it's pretty negligible, but just an FYI. You can also bump yourself all the way up to max speed if you run into walls like this, and you just sort of drag yourself along them. Although that's only really effective if you've been slowed down by something, because it'll, like, immediately boost you up to max speed. Come talk to this guy, and that's the end of the mission. The next is Forest. The Frill Neck Forest. This is possibly the most difficult platforming level in the game. I don't really know anymore. They're all kind of equal at this point, because there's been a lot of small optimizations that have been found in just about every single level that involves platforming. Avoid that little platform there because it'll like bump you up into the air and you'll lose traction. And it's actually just slower than going around. Don't worry about my health, it'll reset after I go into Frill Neck Forest. It's basically impossible to die there. Alright, and just an FYI. I go around this way to get into Frill Neck Forest, but... and I've timed this. Some other runners will go around this way. And it's actually, for my timings, the exact same. It takes the exact same amount of time. It's like within 1/10 of a second. So, You know, pick and choose, whichever one feels more comfortable for you. So now we get into here. And we are not going to be taking the recommended path by the developers. First, we're going to cut this corner, jump onto this log, and then we can jump straight up onto there with the ledge grab. And you can do that without stopping either. This is what it looks like without stopping. Now, I'm going to just kill that guy real quick, because this area is going to take a little bit of explaining. So, when you go on this rope, what it does when you get to the top of the rope is it'll force you to do a 180 going left, and then it'll kick you off of it. Ow. So, what we're going to do here is we're going to try and jump as it's turning us. Right when we're about 90 degrees over. Jumped a little bit too early. And that's what that looks like. And then we... Well, we would have ended up on that higher level if I hadn't fallen. If you do fall, it's okay. Beginners fall. This level's hard. You can jump around here, and you can try again. That's the quickest way to get back up here. So, that's what it would look like if you got perfect timing. If you're a little bit late, that was super late, and that wouldn't work. If you're a little bit late, and I messed that up, you can actually go in between those two branches, and then go all the way around the tree, and that's about a half second slower, but it works, and you don't fall down. If you're early and you don't turn at all, you can actually do this. And this is almost a whole second slower just because the pathing sucks. But it's better than jumping all the way down. You want to flutter glide here because you'll get more distance if you're constantly tapping the A button as you glide down. You can land right here and then move on to the next area like that. That's what you want. And then you can grind that little rope and jump down here. And now we're here. With a perfect extended glide, you can jump up there without needing a ledge grab. Hop on that rope, hop off immediately. And you might want to stop here for just a split second so that you don't go over the bridge there. You don't want to go over this bridge, you'll fall off, obviously. So you land here and jump to the left. Land on the rope. You want to time this. I was in a bad position, so I had to wait for a second for that log. Keep going here. Jump here with an extended glide and get all the way around. And I split right as the mission ends. And then you just leave. And that'll teleport you right back out here. Got some biteable ledges here. Now here, the game wants you to drive around this big ol' S-bend, but that's slow, clunky, and bad, and we don't like that. So let's just go back, and I'll show you what we actually do, and this is way easier than it looks. You just drive up the wall, sort of hold right a little bit as you go up it, and you'll just make it straight up. The reason why that's possible is because they didn't actually make it to where you slow down when you're on grass. You just go the same speed as you would on any other surface. I mean, obviously, you don't want to be on the grass the whole time because shit like that'll happen. But, you know. Here, when you're making this turn at full speed, you want to be turning in that mud. And then that'll give you momentum to continue turning as you inevitably get hopped into the air because of the way that is sloped. And then you'll get this direction and you'll be perfectly fine going down. That turn is actually probably the most difficult driving in the game, if you ask me. I mean, I made it look pretty easy just now. If you're a beginner, you might just want to slow down on it. Because it is really hard to get it just perfect. But if you're going you can do it at full speed. You just have to be turning on the mud, and that was a bad example. And I'm gonna run into that wall. That was a bad example of that. But you saw my first example. Just do all your turning on the mud as you get lifted into the air from the slope. Your momentum will keep you spinning, and you'll land perfectly on the correct direction that you should be going in. Alright, so the next mission is Dennis Freeway. So go left immediately. Grab. Keep going up. And, you know, these missions are just kind of simple. Something to note, you might notice me doing it. You can start sort of turning in the opposite direction before you get to where you need to. If you were to, like, go all the way and you start turning there, it's like, oh, now all of a sudden I'm all the way on the other side of that piece. So you want to start turning before you actually get to the piece. And that'll actually swing your little claw to grab it. Now, if you're too low like that, you'll hit... you will hit the ground with your claw, and that is obviously bad. Let's see if I can make one good example of it here. Oh, I hit that tree. See? Boom, like that. So now I just head back. Of course, keep your tight lines as you're driving through. And now we'll head to the next mission, which is Crock Stock Pile. This mission's going to be kind of hard to describe my thought process when going through it, just because it's pretty variable. If you make a mistake, it's going to change what you do later on. So I'm just going to show you my default route if I'm moving perfectly. So first, of course, grab this one that's right next to you and drop it off on the helipad. Then you can go south of this tree. There's your second croc to grab. Now, in general, it's best to grab the croc that's closest to you, but here we're actually going to not follow that rule because there's one that's currently on a pattern that's fairly close to us, and it'll never get that close again, so we'll grab it now. Drop it off. Now we'll grab this one. Drop it off.
Keep an eye on the fuel, sir.
Grab this one. Drop it off. This one. Drop it off. That one. I didn't need to grab that fuel, that was an accident, but, you know, doesn't actually matter. So that's what happens if you get a little bad turn there. And fortunately, I was on a really fast cycle, so that croc ended up very close to me at the end. And then you'll finish right around there. Something that you'll have to get used to for that mission is just how the claw will be swinging around you depending on how you're moving the helicopter. Because the claw moves independent of the helicopter. It's just attached. So you're going to have to practice manipulating it where, you know, when you stop and immediately start moving the other direction, the claw's going to swing around and you can grab stuff or drop stuff off that way. But you also have to be aware that if you have a hitch slightly in that 180, like you make a slight curve, the claw's now going to also curve with you, and you might swing around something. So it just takes a lot of practice to get used to the claw physics. So now, next mission is called Ripper Nipper. And just gotta get some fucking sunscreen. This is probably the easiest mission in the game besides the Find Boony, because for Find Boony, literally all you have to do is just press the Y button. I wasn't looking at the screen for a second, so that can happen if you're just not looking at the screen, and you run into a wall, and you go flying. You don't want that to happen. So the reason why this mission is so easy is because you don't have to go very far, and they give you 5 whole minutes. Alright, so moving on. Now we go to the oil rig. This is the longest split in the game for me, because I don't split it up. Most other runners actually split this up into the oil rig and the buster fight. I keep it as one. So this is the reason why we needed the thermal bunyip for this chapter. Another thing you can do that I've started implementing is you can bite into cutscenes like that to get the same momentum that you would from ledge biting, and then you end up in a cutscene and it resets your position. So you're no longer biting. So just do some jumps to get around to thermal bunyip, jump around this stuff. We can use that debris to jump around it. Get out, and then you can hop on these railings to avoid having to hop on those ladders. The game will automatically target that button that I just hit if you're just looking at it as you jump. That looks tricky, but it's absolutely not. It's super free. You just gotta jump, turn around, be staring right at it, and the game will just automatically hit it for you. So we'll do some more platforming around stuff. Right here. Again, we can... Oh, well, you don't want to jump directly into the ladder, but you can, again, use these railings to skip ladders completely. Here we just glide down. Here's another section where you want to be constantly hopping because of the slope. So not really much to talk about here, it's just, moving optimally. Here's a good room. So spin spray there. If you're lucky, you'll hit both of them. You don't need to hit both of them, though. Hop out of the thermal bunyip to land up here. Stand somewhere around this corner. Look straight up. And you'll hit that button right on if you just look straight up. Hop around here, spin, and spray. And that'll make it to where you just automatically spray the sprayer no matter where you're facing. Same here, jump, spin, spray. You'll want to hear that sound effect too. The sound effect this one. You want to make sure you hear that, because it is possible to still miss. It's happened to me before where the water just goes slightly over. You'll notice I actually jumped on the sprayer to jump back over the debris. I'll do the same thing here. Jump on the debris to skip going around that platforming. Hop around like that. Hit those 3 buttons. Don't miss that 4th button like me. What a tragedy. Hit the 4th button, skip cutscenes. Buster will automatically jump to you, make him slam the ground, and then hit him like that. So, there'll need to be a little bit of explanation on this boss fight. One way of doing this is to make him go 8 steps. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's one way to make him get vulnerable. But that turns out to be slow. That's faster in Original Console because this other technique doesn't actually work in Original Console. This technique is where you just make him do 2 actions. It slams the ground, makes himself vulnerable. That's like 2 seconds faster per attack. It's pretty substantially faster. Alright, so that's his first phase. His second phase, he adds this thing where he sort of chases you, and if you get stuck in it, that'll happen. But it doesn't waste any time if you actually get hit, though. Or save time, for that matter. 1, 2... hit him. So the reason why that doesn't work in Original Console is because in Original Console, it actually takes 3 actions for him to make himself vulnerable. And that's actually slower than making him walk 8 steps. Sag. This boss is painfully slow and tedious in Original Console, by the way. Mainly because of that. So now as we get on to the third phase, he adds another attack. He subtracts that attack where he does that little spike thing, but he adds this ball form. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He'll bounce 10 times, and then he'll break apart and go back into his fucking humanoid form, whatever you want to call that. This is also one of the only opportunities in the entire run where you get a moment to actually take a sip of a beverage. So definitely cherish those moments because they're very few. There's these moments in this fight, and then there's the escort dentist mission. Those are the only moments where you get any sort of semblance of a break. And there's not a single time in the whole run where you'll have enough time to go piss. Because I know that is something that could potentially matter. Just an FYI, if you're going to run this game, make sure you piss before you start running. So another thing to note real quick that you might have noticed, the camera was facing this way for some reason when I got back out. It just does that. Sometimes you'll be facing this way. Sometimes you'll be facing this way. Sometimes you'll be facing this way. I personally have not figured out yet why that happens. It would be great if somebody did, because I hate it. I hate thinking I can run immediately forward like this. But it turns out I'm facing this way. So, oh, now I gotta shift where I'm going. Or the worst, and I've had this happen where it turns me all the way around and I start running this way. I'm like, fuck! No, that is not the way I want to go. So, I don't know why that happens. Hopefully somebody will figure that out at some point. Because it's very frustrating. Okay, so for this next chapter, we need to buy 2 things. And don't worry, there's literally no circumstance where you don't get enough opals. If you got past the first chapter, you will have enough opals here for sure. Head over here. It's the very first item, the sub-bunyip.
Bye-bye.
And then again, it's the very first item in this, the Frosty Ring.
Bye, son.
So that jump right there is a little bit more deceiving than I just made it look. You need a perfect extended glide, and you need to do it early enough to where you don't end up over here, because you're not going to make it on this side. It's just not possible. You need to jump somewhere around here. You also don't want to be too close, because if you're too close, you'll land under the roof. It's surprisingly precise. But as long as you're, like, somewhere on the dirt whenever you jump, or, somewhere on the right of the dirt whenever you jump, and you're not too far down the slope, you'll make it. But that's something that I would recommend focusing on when you get there, because that jump is deceptively tricky, and it's really annoying. So now we'll just continue to head out. Next mission is the sheep. At this point, you can no longer spam the action button to do things like skip cutscenes or get into the 4B, because now the action button has another effect. It'll open up the ring wheel, now that we have more than just one ring. And I'll show you what that looks like spamming the Y button nowadays, what that'll do. So let's pretend like I want to get into the 4B, and I start spamming the Y button. That's what it looks like. You can't spam the Y button anymore. You have to actually time everything precisely. So I like to go ahead and switch from the Frosty Ring to the Boomerang here, because you'll want to have the Boomerang out before the Ninjas fight. The Ninjas fight isn't for a really long time, but we don't need the Frosty Ring at all, so I personally just like to switch to the Boomerang here. You can do it anywhere before the Ninjas fight, so yeah. So here, go immediately to the right. Grab the sheep. Drop it off. I went way too far left there. I don't know what my brain was on. Come over here, grab this sheep on that hill. The next sheep is very tricky because you need to swing your claw around the hill, because the sheep is going to be on a lower slope on that hill. So you saw how I sort of flung the claw around the hill. If you want to just look at my exact controller inputs to see how I did that with the analog stick, because it's kind of weird. And then, what the fuck? Where's the what? Okay, so real quick, totally candid moment. That has never happened in my entire life. I have no idea what that is. That sheep is supposed to be on this raft, and that raft is going to be perfectly timed to be right here if you take the path I'm taking. But that didn't happen. That has never happened to me before, and I doubt it'll happen to you. I have no idea what caused that. Can I even pick it up? Okay, I can. So, just totally FYI, that shouldn't happen. That should not happen. That also brings up another important note. If we go into the quality, I play with everything on the lowest. It doesn't actually matter because we use the in-game timer for this game, which I'll explain the in-game timer after this run. Hopefully I remember to do that, because I forgot to do it at the beginning. I play full screen off in a windowed form with everything low. The only thing that matters, that actually matters, is the draw distance. Draw distance needs to be low for this fight specifically, because that's what causes that one raft with the sheep to be perfectly placed during my route. If you have it on medium or high, he's going to continue moving, and he won't ever like stop when you get too far away, and the raft will be in a totally different spot. So make sure you have the draw distance on low. Oh, what am I doing? Okay, so don't do what I just did. Go straight. I'm kind of a little flustered after that fucking raft incident just now. Like, what the hell was that? So keep going straight after you drop that sheep off. My brain just stopped working for a second. Alright, so this mission's a little bit tricky. As you saw, I swung my claw way too early. That's because I just had a bad judgment of where the sheep would be. The sheep could literally be anywhere on this island. So it's tricky. That was crazy. That was such a weird experience. Okay, so next is sub 1. Do a little bit of a long driving here. Sheep, unfortunately, is pretty far out of the way. But it is the next quickest mission to do. I've experimented with doing this mission Crocodile Chaos instead, but it's just always slower by like 10 seconds. Like at the very least. So that idea has sort of been cut. Yeah, not really much to talk about there. But now we start swimming. One of the few times in the game where we actually do this. You want to angle the camera upward as you dive in so you get a good viewing angle. Go in between those two sharks and come out around here. And that'll be the most optimal swimming that you can do. Obviously, you have a massively increased movement speed when you're underwater, so you want to be swimming as much as possible in these kinds of areas. Then we'll start up the first sub-bunyip mission. Go ahead and shoot sharks as you go through. Not a big deal. You can get a slight boost off of these eels, like that. That was a pathetically tiny boost. The second and fourth eel, almost never get a boost off of. I have before, extremely rarely, which is why I go for them, but yeah, see, like, I just totally missed that one. This third one can give you the biggest boost, but it's also a little tricky. Yeah, I was too high up that whole time. And it's very important that you follow my exact directions here. I know a lot of beginners tend to actually get lost in this mission because it's sort of this S pattern, but the area is so wide that it's hard to actually keep good track of where you're at. So try and pick up some good visual cues so you don't get lost. We'll dive again. That should be a good angle to where I don't have to turn at all. That was fairly good. Turn a little bit. Get out, and hop up here into this area, and now we've got sub-bunyip 2. And something that I forgot to note, but is very important, the sub-bunyip controls... Okay, so I'm an idiot. The sub-bunyip controls are... the exact same as the helicopter. So I said I'm an idiot because go right immediately. Don't go straight. I don't know what my brain was on. Pick up that piece and just constantly be shooting here. There's a lot of sharks and you don't want to hit any of them. We just want to clear them out.
Pick up all the points.
Rex is going to give you some good information throughout this mission. Some pertinent information on how to complete the mission. Lets you know that you must pick up the pipes in order to complete the mission. Sometimes they'll tell you to hurry up, which is amazing. So I'd like to see Rex do this any faster. Some shit's in my throat, dude. I don't understand why this has to happen. Like half. There he goes again. Fucking pick up the pipes. Alright, so here you want to sort of hover in the air a little bit longer than you think, because this little UFO-looking thing, if you touch it, it'll actually bounce you back up, and you'll lose all your downward momentum, and that's going to lose you a lot of time. So there you go. So yeah. The submissions the exact same as the fucking helicopter missions. Here, I don't jump in, over that loading door because I want to jump immediately into the water after I get around it, which is harder to do if you try and jump around the door. Ends up being slightly slower, actually. So there's a few visual cues you can use there using the coral reef and the little pillar rocks to sort of guide you around. But that is actually the fastest swimming that you can do there. It's about a second faster than walking across the island and then diving in. So next up is Tourist Trap. There's some really, really weird and interesting things about speedrunning this level that hopefully I'll go in-depth on enough to where they make sense. There's a moment where if I get perfect movement, I will stop and wait for about 1.25 seconds before moving on, because this level loads in chunks, and if you go too fast, it'll load it in a way to where one of the saw blades will be active, and you'll lose about 4 seconds. As opposed to waiting about 1.5 seconds and not losing that 4 seconds, which of course is faster. So I'll try and get perfect movement here so I can show that off. So activate that, hit the first button, go in between these houses, hit this button, and the rings will, in general, automatically target the buttons. But only if you're close enough to them and you're staring at them in the right direction. Go here. You can actually go in between those tree and that little branch. You'll want to make a sort of a long curve around here in order to hit that button properly. And then right here at this saw blade, da 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 da. And now I move on. I sort of see the saw blade in my peripheral vision as I leave. That lets me know that I'm going to get the good cycle. Hit that button, jump around here, and again I'm going for perfect movement so I can show off why this is important. I'm not slowing down at all. Go in between those. Hit that button. So that might have fucked me. We'll see. Yeah, I'm not gonna make this now. But, so let me go ahead and explain now why that's important. I missed that button, but if I would have hit it immediately, I would have continued going, and I would have made this saw blade cycle. If I wouldn't have waited, it would have loaded this area in a different way. And this saw blade, no matter what I do, if I'm moving at top speed, it's going to be active immediately, which will cause me to lose about 3 seconds. 3 to 4 seconds, somewhere in between there. Whereas you could wait about 1.25 seconds, and you won't have to wait for that specific saw blade. I didn't do a good job demonstrating it, of course, because I didn't get perfect movement, but that happens. Here, okay, I messed it up. This jump is really difficult. You can just barely jump on that railing and then hop immediately off it to land onto this roof, and then you can do this platforming around here to get onto there. Keep in mind when you're jumping on these, there's a lot of areas. If you're like walking up this roof, it won't let you jump. Well, it did there, but I'm spamming the A button. It's not letting me jump. Because those sloped surfaces, it doesn't let you jump off of them. So I'll show that again. Oh, I guess I didn't explain. I jumped on the button and then jumped around the gate to actually get around that and then landing here. But I'm sure that sort of was obvious. Again, I was a little bit too far to the right. It'd be like that. Hop, hop. Hit that button, and then you can actually make this jump right here. If you're on this side of the rock, you see there's this little point here. If you're on this side and you get an extended glide, it's basically just free. So get on this side, get that extended glide, and now you're up here. Yay. Now we move on. Now the reason why we needed to switch to the boomerang was for this next ninjas fight. This is basically a carbon copy of the one that we had at the very beginning of the game. The Frosty Ring is going to make it a lot more difficult. And, well, I guess not a whole lot more difficult. It's just the sense that you get all these fucking ice crystals popping up, and it's hard to see what you're doing when you're using the Frosty Ring. Whereas you get the same effect with the normal boomerang in that when you hit an enemy, it'll fall down, and you'll get a quick moment to hit it again with another boomerang for free and to not miss. So the Frosty Ring is totally not required, and it's a hindrance for this fight. It really is. I don't know why you started targeting that one time. That's another thing. The targeting system when you hold down the right trigger is kind of garbage. He sort of forgets what he's targeting every once in a while. Now, the same principle for this fight, it's just the same as the previous one, where in general your time is going to be determined by how quickly you can kill the 20th ninja. Unless you are really slow throughout the fight and there's a lot that's left spawned in as the 20th one spawns in, which is also possible. Another thing to keep in mind is that it is possible to not have enough opals going into Chapter 3. So make sure you get up to around 7k opals. So this would be a bad ninja fight, because I was slow, and the 20th ninja spawned in, there is still like 2 left. So that would be an example of a bad ninja fight. That one in particular is quite a bit more challenging than the first one because the area that you have to fight in is much larger than the first one. So keeping up with all of them spawning in is actually a pretty big challenge. And there is a lot of RNG involved, like where they spawn in, do they turn invisible? Because obviously if they turn invisible, that's going to be an issue. Alright, so as you're going into this next level, the Sulfur Rocks, switch to the Frosty Ring there. The reason why you want to switch to the Frosty Ring there is because when you're in the ring wheel, the loading doesn't stop. So you want to be switching rings when you're in loading zones like that. So as you saw, I did a little bit of glitchy platforming to get up here. It's not really too exciting. We're going to do some more, well, this isn't really very glitchy platforming, but just exploiting some of the little nooks and crannies here. Get an extended glide here. I did not get an extended glide, that was terrible. Get an extended glide there and you'll be able to land on that side of the rope. Climb up that ladder. Extended glide to where you don't have to ledge grab those. Head over here. You should be able to just barely miss the saw blade. As you're going over here, just walk off of this and then dive. No reason to jump, and you're immediately in the water that way. You can get an extended glide to skip one of those pillars. Hop around here. Is this biteable? I forget. It is biteable. That little trash can there is biteable. Alright, so now it's time for the Stone Beetle. As you can see, hopping will actually increase your speed for a short time. The issue is that whenever you land, you actually drop speed significantly when you land. So you have to find good moments to be jumping. Generally, moving downward, like there, you'll be able to build up a lot of speed with your jumps. And then also moving upward. You'll also be able to build up speed that way. Another thing is also just chaining your jumps together. If you get perfect frame jumps, you actually don't ever suffer that massive loss of speed when you land. Although it's extremely difficult. It's like hyper... I don't even go for it difficult. Oh, I don't know why I didn't turn left. Make sure you don't jump as you're going across here, or else you'll soft lock the game. And then, once you finish the mission, it doesn't actually automatically award you the mission. You have to talk to that guy again for it to reward you the mission, which is weird. I don't know why it didn't let me dive there, but that's another area that you can just walk off and dive. It didn't work for me for some reason just now, but, you know. Am I able to bite on this? I'm not sure. No, that's not biteable. I don't know why that one trash can is biteable, but other trash cans aren't. It's just weird. Alright, so heading here. So, we're going to be purposefully taking damage in this area because there's a death warp when leaving Sulfur Rocks. It literally saves like 20 seconds. So, the about 10-ish seconds that you lose from the dealing damage to yourself is totally outweighed later on. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump, fall in, but throw both your rings as you fall so you hit that rock there. Jump, get an extended glide here, stop for a second, hit that, and jump. You need the rock to tilt downward a little bit in order for Ty to auto-target the rock, which is why I waited for a second. Jump here. You'll want to aim for around this part of the rock, but jump off of that part of the rock, get an extended glide, and then do a flutter glide, and you should be able to just get a ledge grab on that rock over there. Like that. Fall into the lava to take damage. Continue hopping. Now, the reason why I do that right there is just in case I mess up earlier on. If I mess up and take extra damage earlier on, I can skip taking damage here, and it actually ends up not really losing you any time. Then next, fall again, throw your rocks as you're next to that rock. Throw your rings as you're next to that rock to hit it, and then just do that jumping to get over here, and that's the mission. Biteable ledge, biteable ledge. This is also a biteable ledge, but it's actually quicker to just jump and flutter glide, so you're higher up on that netting. Make sure you don't take damage here. That would be really sad. That would be a lot of time loss. Make sure you're getting your extended glides too, because most of those jumps are impossible to get without extended glides. I guess I should probably talk about extended gliding. This is a technique that exists in every single Thai game. You can get a little bit of extra height if you perfectly time your glide. It's just something you need to do a lot to get the timing down. Like, you can look at my inputs, how exactly I'm hitting the X button. Alright, so now here, now that we're outside, take damage from a frill. And what's that going to do? It's going to respawn us all the way next to the 4B. That may not look like a massive distance, but Ty is a slow bastard, and it literally saves like 20 seconds. So, now that was a random bump. Random bumps occur when you're driving, and it loads in another chunk, and the 4B falls slightly. But once that chunk is finished loading, it pushes you back up, and it'll fling you in some random direction. That one wasn't that bad because it actually flung me forward, but that will happen on occasion. Probably on average about once per run. I think that was the first time that's happened to me on this given run. So now we'll head over here for the fluffy fight. You'll want to get this jump. You want to get as close to this wall as possible so you're as high up on the y-axis as possible so you get the most height. If you try and do it from like right here, you're not going to get it and you're going to get a ledge grab. You want to get right here. Don't hug the wall either because the wall will actually hinder your upward momentum. And then just sort of turn right a little bit to land there. And that makes it to where you avoid jumping all the way around like that. It only saves like a second, but you know. Every second counts. So now we'll head into the fluffy fight. Cutscene skips. Immediately jump on this platform or you'll miss it. And now we're sort of bound by this next platform. You can hit Fluffy, but as you can see, that doesn't do anything. She will get back up, and she'll heal up her damage from those blue demon Fluffies. Here's another part where you want to break out your mouse, because these turret things, it's just way easier to do it with a mouse. Hit that guy. If you take a little bit of extra time there, it's not a big deal, because you're going to be bound again by this platform. Avoid Fluffy's rocket there. Make sure Fluffy doesn't jump onto you. It's possible for her to try and jump onto you as you make that jump, and you'll fall in the water. You don't want that. Come here. We got the next demon Fluffy. We got a purple ball in the way. That's sad. Here you can just barely make this jump and avoid that having to make that platform cycle there, and it'll save you about, if you're as optimal as possible, it can literally save like 2 to 3 seconds. Here, immediately hit Fluffy with your turrets, then kill this final demon Fluffy. Then hit Fluffy one more time. Now Fluffy's already at half health. We can hit her once. She lands back on the platform. Very important. Hit her in a direction that she'll land on this platform, smash the ground, and that's it. That's the whole fight. It's very, very, very important that you get that sequence of events perfectly at the ending, or else you're going to lose a lot of time. I'm not kidding. It's huge. Like 30 seconds to a minute you could lose from not getting that perfectly sequenced. So next, go talk to Julius. That's the only time we don't run immediately forward when we spawn back here. So you can start this mission. Now we'll have 2 more items to buy. We've got plenty of opals. And you should have plenty of opals. I've only ever seen it happen once to somebody where they didn't have enough opals going into this chapter. Just make sure you're collecting opals during that second ninjas fight, and you should be good. So, that first menu, go down twice, and then buy the lifter bunny. Up here, you can actually go up, and it'll reset you to the bottom, and then buy the mega ring. Got that same jump there. Easy peasy. And now with the Mega Ring, we'll just keep the Mega Ring equipped until the very end of the game, when it's actually optimal to switch back to the Boomerang, and I'll explain why when we get there. But keep the Mega Ring equipped. This is going to make the third ninja's fight extremely easy. Now, I should note something, and this is something I realized after I got my most recent world record. It is technically most optimal to skip buying the Mega Ring entirely. It is possible to save about, at most, a grand total of 5 seconds from skipping the Mega Ring and doing Ninjas 3 with a normal Boomerang. The problem is that's extremely risky. It's possible to get a Ninjas fight there with a normal Boomerang that's just as fast as the Mega Ring, and maybe it'll happen about a quarter of the time. But that's the thing, it'll only happen about a quarter of the time. And it'll only, in the grand scheme of things, save about 5 seconds. So, I'll go ahead and throw that out there, just as an FYI. The most optimal route will skip the Mega Ring. But I'm still using it because I don't want to lose all that time. Because you can potentially lose an assload of time without it on Ninjas 3. The Ninjas 3 map is definitely the worst out of the 3 of them. It's not the biggest, the second one's the biggest, but there's a lot of ridiculous stuff that's put in place that makes it extremely difficult to hit the enemies with your boomerangs. And it's just infinitely easier with a Mega Ring. Infinitely easier. So this driving's pretty long, as you can see. We'll essentially be driving all the way up to where we split off to do the first Patchy fight, the very first boss fight of the game. We'll go around this hill. You can technically drive over the hill, but that's super risky, and it only saves about half a second. And the potential to lose like 2 or 3 seconds is there. It's not worth it. Now, you'll see as I went over that hill, I actually stopped my momentum for a second. Because if you go too fast over that hill, you'll get air, and you'll land incorrectly, and you'll lose time. So it's important to just let up for a second on the left trigger. Okay, so next, here's a very important strategy. Let's see if I can get it real quick. Probably not. It's extremely difficult. First, we'll go over this hill. That one's actually free just because of the way the geometry works out. Jump here, biteable ledge. Let's see if I can get this. I'm not going to be too sad if I don't. This is probably the most difficult trick in the game. I still haven't gotten it consistent, but it saves about 4 seconds because it saves one whole saw blade cycle. Yeah. So the goal there is to end up somewhere around here and then bite across, and you'll end up on the other side of the saw blade. But it's just so precise. I've gotten it maybe in like 3 runs total. I didn't get it in my world record. So, keep the Mega Ring out. I accidentally switched for some reason. We'll just move on. I think my 107.45, I got the saw blade skip. So that'll be your example if you want to see an example of that. Check my 107.45. So there, I just did an extended glide off of this rock. Oops. And then I'll put you right up here. You can skip that other rock. Here, the pattern is always the same on these eggs. Red, yellow, green. Red, yellow. Oh my god, this egg pattern is terrible. Blue, green. Pink, pink, green, yellow, red. Now, so that pattern of colors is always the same. What changes is the orientation of the 5 eggs. And this is a terrible orientation. I probably lost like 2 seconds just because of that orientation. So, yeah. Hop around there. Activate this. It's very important to note here that if you accidentally do an extraneous action button, you will jump out, and that loses a lot of time. So keep in mind that when we get to the end here, every once in a while, you'll get the cutscene when you get up to the caravan that you can skip, but sometimes the little mission cutscene that happens afterward won't happen. So only hit it once. And then I got it, so I have to hit it again. But take your time there, because trust me, the risk outweighs the reward of trying to spam through those cutscenes as fast as possible. So hop out of the thermal bunyip on that island, and you can land just right out here. And we'll do some tricky platforming. The idea is you're supposed to spin these rocks by hitting them with your rings, but you can actually just get good extended glides. This is the tricky part. You want to do a short hop, and then hop off the edge. Because what'll happen if you don't is the rock's going to tilt downward. I still got it, but that makes it way more difficult. Oh, I didn't get an extended glide. That's funny. Well, that is because I didn't get an extended glide. So yeah, that's the most important part, is get your extended glides. Oh my god, I didn't get an extended... Fuck! I'm choking so hard. If this were an 80% run, I probably would have thrown my controller, not gonna lie. There we go. Yeah, get your extended glides. That's the most important part. Get close to her, probably around right here, or else you're not going to activate the cutscene at all. It's also on a timer, which is why it happened up here, but normally that cutscene's going to happen when you're underwater around right there. So keep that in mind, that the cutscene won't happen instantly. Once you get close to her, a timer will start, then the cutscene will happen. So we'll get in here, talk to Dennis, or he'll automatically talk to us. Now this is the only sort of break portion, but it's only like 30 seconds worth of a break. So what you want to do is first you need to clear out the area of these big ol' dinos. Sometimes they'll just walk right into the water and commit die. That makes our job easy. That's another thing, these dinosaurs, if they touch water, they instantly die, which is fun. So once you've cleared them all out, just turn around. This is a very important moment, and I'll explain why. Find Dennis. Make sure you get past Dennis on your way back before getting out of the battle bunyip, because Dennis takes this really weird zigzaggy path. It's always the exact same, and this mission always takes exactly 1 minute and 31 seconds. But if you put your battle bunyip in a bad spot, he'll just run into it, and he'll just keep running into it, and he won't go around it. It's like that moment in Bug's life when the leaf fell. And I'm lost. That's basically what Dennis is doing. So now I'm looking, I can see Dennis all the way in the distance. He's running. Once he's out of view, I'm going to turn around and get prepared to just move on to the next stuff. Boom. And the reason why I was standing there and not right next to the door is you have to be a certain vicinity. You have to be close to Dennis after that mission ends. You have to be within a certain radius. And so if you're right next to the door, it won't actually start the cutscene. There's a biteable ledge for you. We'll go just around there. Like that. Hop around all this stuff. Do that little platforming to skip going all the way around. Go onto the right side of that crack before you get up to it. Just because you'll get stuck on it if you don't. And now this is why we like the Mega Ring. Now, once I've gotten totally caught up, 11, I'm going to stand around here at 12 and just sort of scan the area. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Got a little trolled at the end. Actually, like, super trolled. But it happens. Biteable ledge there. Next is donuts. This mission's very, very important that we do it quickly. There's some tricky strats, but hopefully I'll explain it in a way that it'll basically be free. Because at this point, the last time I died on donuts, I can't even tell you. I'll try and explain perfectly what my thought process is to do fast donuts. I'll explain it when we get there. So first, I've discovered it's actually quicker just to constantly be hopping through this mud. Your movement speed when you're on the ground is slower, but it's not when you're in the air. So if you're just constantly jumping, the amount of time you save there actually outweighs the time going around. So come over here, get to this edge to pick up the rock. These rocks have really, really shitty hitboxes. And now come over here to this side to hit this edge. That's, of course, it looks slower than just going straight forward, but the hitboxes on those rocks are so terrible that you just kind of have to do it that way. The hitboxes for the donut boxes are pretty massive, so you can be kind of actually far away from them to pick them up. Now, to do a strong throw, you have to press X, or whatever your equivalent of that is. So, square in my case. X on an Xbox controller, square on a PlayStation controller. Stand around here where you see that little bit of grass beneath my left foot, then hit X. He'll do a strong throw, it'll land right there. Next, pick up this one. See this blade of grass that I'm going to be standing on here. Press X when you're on it, and then you're there. Now here, let this one come up to you. Let the first frill come up to you. Now, see how I time my jumps to where that they don't chase me. They just constantly keep doing that. I'm timing them. Oh, I messed up. Time picking up the box as well. Now, I might have fucked up because... Yeah, I think I'm dead here. Unfortunately. Oh, no, I'm not. Just barely out of there. See, even with that really shitty setup, I was still able to survive. The point is, you have to be timing your jumps. So he's never going to move. He's locked in place. And you want to keep them as far away from the box as possible. Oh, there he goes. Alright, anyway, that's sort of my spiel there. Practice it, because it does still take practice. But it's basically free at this point, so there's no reason not to do it. Now I'll hop over that fence, grab this box of donuts. Do your strong throw around here. And hop over this fence. Come to this side of the box, because this one also has a crappy hitbox, and then do a strong throw. And that's it. This driving's a little tricky and takes practice. Getting these S-turns perfectly with the warped road. So just get into the lifter bunyip again instead of actually activating the mission. Come to this side of the rock to pick it up. Then, again, see how steep this hill is? You want to constantly be jumping. Get to this side of the rock to pick it up. Again, these hitboxes are just so terrible that you have to do it that way. Hop around here. Get this rock. You'll notice the frills do the same thing that the uber frills do. Sometimes you want them not to jump so you can just get them close to knock them out immediately so they don't become a problem later on when you're trying to pick up the rocks. Like here, I'm just going to let them run to me instead of hopping. Oh, come on. And now the lifter bunny just isn't hitting shit. Okay, that's good. Then just pick up that, and you're done with that mission. This driving's also a little tricky because of those little bumps in the road. So make sure you have a good direction going into those bumps because you will gain air for a second no matter what you do. Now there's a massive invisible wall going into this mission, so you want to turn the corner really late, around there. This is where I like to switch back to the boomerang, is in this loading zone. Talk to Ken. And now this helicopter mission is different than the rest of them. The idea is you need to submerge this little bucket and then drop it on the houses. Now keep in mind with this mission, when I say submerge, you have to submerge the entire bucket, not just the bottom part of the bucket that holds water. You need to submerge the whole thing, handle and all. Was that good enough? It was good enough. Something that will make it easier to do that without bonking on the water with the helicopter is to stop for a second so you can sort of fling the bucket into the water like that. And that way you're killing as little momentum as possible. Oh, that was almost a disaster. Now we exit level. This will take us back to the Bear Munchie HQ. We'll go talk to you. Now, that Uber Frill that's far away, make sure he starts running. Make sure he runs a little bit, and then hit that box. Or else it'll miss, and you don't want to miss. Skip through cutscenes, and now we are into the final boss. So here, just go... Take the tightest corners possible. You can shoot your little laser beam to break apart these trees to give you better angles. Do a double jump and then fall in. That way you avoid the laser beams. The laser beams can be really annoying, because if you get hit by a laser beam, you're just going to constantly get hit by it until they decide to stop shooting you with it. Because you don't get invincibility frames, which is really stupid. Shoot Patchy's head. We get a little Patchy rematch. Just constantly be shooting at him while targeting him. And then hopefully it'll hit him. Sometimes that'll happen where he just soaks up a ton of hits. Really? Okay. You want to be standing somewhere around here, starting here, so you can get this Buster started. Have him do 2 actions just like normal. Now he's gonna do his try and do his spike attack from his the previous time we faced him. And now we're gonna do something slightly different here, actually. He's gonna spawn back in. And instead of having him do 2 actions, we're actually gonna make him take 8 steps. But make him take 8 steps in the direction that we want to be going in. So now we're just right next to the gate. Hop around that stuff, hop over, well, try to hop over the outhouse. So there's not really much to talk about here. This is a good moment to contemplate how good or shitty your run was as you're just taking this last little run up to the final boss. Obviously, as you can see, there's really nothing going on here. Start spamming Y around here so you can get a cutscene skip. And then hop in. And hopefully... Okay, so I got a really bad starting position. Ideally, you want to just hit him right off the bat, but sometimes you don't. So, hopefully... I can... Oh no! I got fucked over. Alright, well, I got totally screwed over. You want to get yourself into position to where Cass is coming towards you. So that when you shoot at him, it's a guaranteed hit, like that. So now he'll jump toward you like that, do this, be standing somewhat like that. I'm going to have him spin a little bit so that I have a better angle. And now, please? What? I don't know why he wasn't attacking me there. I need to have him spin again. So, that first time he's going to spin twice, then he's going to spin 3 times here. And now he'll attack. You want to be standing like right in front of him like that, and he'll just automatically do it. And now, come on. He'll automatically attack again. There you go. Now with this phase, you want to be moving left so you can avoid his lava. And the idea is you just want to make a lap around him as quickly as possible so he gets all that lava expunged ASAP. And then he'll become vulnerable. Ooh, that was close. I almost got hit. And then the VL3 hits them like that, and that's it. That's the whole run. So yeah, fairly simple, but there's a lot of changes since the last time I did an intro, since I did a tutorial like this.
It was all a bit of fun. I hope I wasn't out of line with that crack about turning your friends into ice cubes. I tell you what, I'll make...
Hopefully I did a good enough job of explaining everything, but if you have questions, just get into the Thai speedrunning Discord,
Easy work, good money,
and we can answer that stuff.
nice jackets.
That chance,
So,
Cass.
one last thing that I just reminded myself of. The loadless timer. The loadless timer can be found on the Thai Discord. It's in a pinned message on the Thai 2 General. Just download it. I think it's like a .asl file or something like that. It's just called Thai-2.
I am proud to present
I'll skip this. Whoa, what was that sound?
Ty, Julius is as mad.
So if you go into your splits, and you go into edit layout, there should be an option to add what is called scriptable auto splitter. So add scriptable auto splitter. This is in live split, by the way. This is the only timer you should be using for speedrunning, by the way. But add scriptable auto splitter to your layout. Go into layout settings. Go all the way over to wherever scriptable auto splitter is. And then all it is just script path. Hit browse, find that .asl file, so it's tie2.asl. And then it'll work just like that. You start the game, the live split will detect that that game is playing, and it'll read whenever a certain value becomes 0 when you go into the loading zone, or not a loading zone, when you go onto the black loading screen, and it'll stop the timer. It'll pause it and start it back up whenever it realizes that that value becomes 1 again. At least I think that's what's happening. I wasn't the one who made it. And yeah, it's that simple. And our general rule is to just have the loadless timer here, and then still showing the real time below it. So loadless, real time. As you can see, the difference isn't really that much, but, you know, it's variable. Some people, it's as much as 20 seconds. For me, it's usually around here between 12 and 15. It ends up being what's taken off. But for some people, it literally is like 20 to 30. So that's the reason why we use it. And yeah, I guess that's it. I think a good starting time is probably around 1 hour, 30 minutes. But that should start going down with practice. I think anybody on the planet is capable of getting a 108 in Tai 2. Even without intro skip, I think a 108 is doable by most people. It'll take a lot of practice and learning the run, but yeah. All right, well, that's it. Bye-bye.